Welcome to Sense of Style. I'm Stuart. Sometimes a whisper is more powerful than a scream. And the one thing quiet luxury fragrances don't do is scream for attention. They're not about following the latest fragrance trends or getting the hottest brands. What they are is giving you a high quality fragrance that's minimalist, sophisticated, and elegant that will garner admiration and respect over time for you smelling good, for you smelling high quality. I have 8 of those fragrances today. Fragrance number 1 is Prada Lum, which might be a surprise to some people, seeing as a lot of people just see this as smelling soapy. However, Jeremy Fragrance regularly used to describe this as smelling like soap from a really high-end luxury hotel. And he must have known something because Miuccia Prada, who is the CEO of Prada, she's worth $5 billion. She used to go to a boutique hotel in Milan and she loved the smell of the soap, took a bar of it to her perfumers and asked them to make a fragrance that smelled like that. And then they came up with this. So this was definitely inspired by high-end luxury soap. When it comes to House of Prada, there is no better fragrance at representing their style than Prada Lum. In fact, it cemented it because originally this was supposed to be part of the Amber Pour line. It was just going to be a flanker. But then they thought, okay, well, the Amber Pour line is amber-based. This is iris-based. Let's make a new line. And now you have got 2 lines with a soapy, clean aesthetic that established the style for the House of Prada. Most people don't realize just how floral this fragrance is because it's more than just that clean iris note. There's also violet, neroli, and geranium. All are clean, fresh floral notes. There's also some black pepper that adds to the freshness. And then you got that beautiful ambery base. And that was the one thing that really surprised me when I smelled it for the first time. I wasn't expecting that level of sweetness because I'm used to like bar soap. I'm not used to soap that comes from $2,000 a night hotels. Fragrance number 2 is Loulou Dan from the house of Jacques Fath, a house that not a lot of people are familiar with, but I really think the regular viewers of my channel should know a little bit more about it. I didn't know much about it. I got an email this week from Steve in Oklahoma. He talked about how there was a big sale at FragranceNet. You were saving a lot of money. And so I looked into it. I bought a couple of fragrances. It was a great deal. It might still be there. It might still be available. Price-wise, it's kind of similar to Versace, $65 to $70, right around there. But when it comes to the scent profile, this is more sophisticated and classy. And this is a very good, quiet luxury scent because it's heavily vetiver-based. There are 3 different vetiver notes here, including bourbon vetiver, Indonesian, and Haitian vetiver. What I like about it, though, it's slightly different in that it's not a citrusy fragrance. There is some green mandarin, but this is more of a woody aromatic. So you're going to get a lot of juniper and geranium here as compared to like a lot of citrus notes. There's a little bit of tobacco in here as well. I don't pick up a whole lot of that. I think it just adds to the aromatic nature of the fragrance. Very, very clean, high quality scent. The only drawback here, I would say, is the longevity, which is between 4 and 5 hours. But when it comes to the projection, it's moderate, as you would expect from vetiver, but it's very solid and it is classy. And vetiver, I like vetiver more and more the older I get. It's woody, it's clean, it's not too in your face. It's a really nice, quiet luxury note. Fragrance number 3 is Lval by Cartier. And I really think of all the fragrances that I've tried, this one surprised me the most because the vibe here is so different. Lval is French, that means flight. So think airy and light. And this is easily the lightest fragrance that I have ever worn. But it doesn't mean it can't perform. It's a weird thing. It's a really strange experience. This is one, I don't know if you want to buy it. I love it. You may not, but you definitely need to try it because it's a completely different feel. It's a honey-based fragrance, as you can tell from the juice. It's actually meant to be modeling honeyed mead, which is an alcoholic beverage that they drank in the Middle Ages, right? So you've got the honey note, and then you've also got Gaiac wood, which is like a leathery, potent woody note that gives that honey a little bit of bite. I'm not saying it's boozy, but it's definitely a bite to the honey. But then you get a lot of iris and a lot of violet leaf that just make the whole thing super light. And yet, you know, the projection, you can still notice it on you. It's more like a couple of feet projection, right? It's not going to project a ton, but you notice it, and it's long lasting, no problem. And easily, I've tried 5 Cartier fragrances. In terms of quality, number 1 in terms of presentation and number 1 in terms of quality of scent. Cartier is a great house for this vibe. It's a sophisticated house. It's not always super expensive, mid-range price-wise, but they always go for a sophisticated air. And this, I think, would be fantastic if you're going for quiet luxury. Fragrance number 4 is Ani by Nishane. And some people might be surprised that this fragrance is on a quiet luxury list, because while it is definitely a luxury scent, it's not always seen as quiet. In fact, it was super trendy a couple of years ago when they released Spectre Ghost. So a lot of young men really liked this, and they described it as a vanilla bomb. However, time has passed. It's a couple years gone by. It's not quite as hot as it was. It's not super in fashion. And to describe it as a vanilla bomb is inaccurate. Yes, there is a ton of vanilla here, but there's a ton of other things as well. There's a lot going on with this that most people don't pick up on. So the opening, for starters, is quite zesty and green. You're going to get ginger, green notes. You're going to get pink pepper and bergamot. So it doesn't last too long, but it's a different feel, a very odd fragrance from the rest of it. And then it turns into a fragrance of essentially 3 notes. The ginger stays, mixes with the vanilla, and cardamom. Actually, warm spicy is definitely what I pick up more than vanilla in this. The vanilla is definitely there. It's a big part of it, but it's much, to call it a vanilla bomb is to be neglecting everything else here. And the thing about this, as far as projection goes, it's an extrait de parfum, which means it's got a lot of thick fragrance oil, and that takes a while to evaporate, so it's not a heavy push out. The clone Spectre Ghost is. It pushes out like crazy. It's more for younger men, but this is an extrait de parfum, so the projection is more like 3 feet rather than 6, and it's super long lasting though, like 12 hours. It's really strong. It's just not a vanilla bomb. Fragrance number 5 is another fragrance recommended to me by a viewer. This is Costume National Sentense. Apostolos, based in Greece, has sent me a number of really good recommendations of fragrances that are different, interesting, and good. And this was definitely one of it. It's an amber-based fragrance that has a spiciness of which I've never smelled before. It's just very different and very original. But it is an amber fragrance. There are 2 amber notes here, so you're going to get a lot of that. But as I said, the spiciness is a combination of cinnamon, tea, and hibiscus. And hibiscus is a spicy floral. It's a different kind of spicy floral than something like carnation, which is very old-fashioned. I find hibiscus to be quite modern smelling, and then you mix it with tea and cinnamon, and it creates a completely different kind of scent than what I've smelled before, but it is really pleasant. Then you've got a really nice powdery sandalwood in the base to kind of complete the whole sophisticated element of the fragrance. And then you've got the bottle, which I think is really cool. It's not supposed to have a cap. This is meant to be a sculpture of the founder of the house. He's an artist, and so this is a very minimalist sculpture. I think it's really cool, and it just creates an entire vibe of like a little bit of artistry, of something special, but definitely minimalist. When you look at the art of this, it's a very minimalist style of art, and the whole fragrance really fits the minimalist vibe. Even the performance is kind of odd. The performance is between 4 and 5 hours, so it's not the longest lasting fragrance, but the projection is very solid. It's no more than 3 feet. It's not a huge projector again, but at the same time, it does have an overall vibe of minimalism, of not trying to do too much, not screaming at people. This fragrance fits the vibe so perfectly. I love wearing this. Fragrance number 6 is Hanae Mori's Him, and there is no fragrance since I started collecting whose price and availability has varied more. Basically, when I started collecting, it was $40. Then it got discontinued or was very difficult to find in North America. You could only find it on eBay. Price went through the roof. Then it came back. Price was back to normal again. And now you can get it at Hanae Mori's website for $90 US. I would not normally recommend purchasing what is essentially a clone of another fragrance. This is a clone of Gucci Pour Homme 2. But Gucci Pour Homme 2 is special. You can get it now only on eBay for $350 US. It's been discontinued for a while, but Gucci Pour Homme 2 was the fragrance to get, or one of them, 15 years ago among collectors because of its unique scent and its very warm and woody style. The great thing about this fragrance is that even though it's a clone, it's not a modern clone. I find the modern clones are kind of fuzzy in their coverage. They get the vibe, but not the actual detail. I find this to be very detailed. So it really does feel like Gucci Pour Homme 2. There is a problem, however. The longevity is just 4 hours. You're not going to get longer than that. The projection is moderate, but reasonable. So it is definitely still worth a purchase, especially based on the scent. The sweetness is going to come from the tonka and the amber. The spiciness is going to come from cinnamon, cardamom, and black pepper. But the key to the fragrance that makes it unique is the violet leaf, which creates a really weird vibe. Even though this is a clone, it seems, the juice seems to go on sticky and thick and rich. It's just a fragrance, one of those ones that you really need to experience, but I do think this is worth it for $90. Fragrance number 7 is Latfa's Liam. This is a clone of BDK Parfums Gris Charnel, a fragrance that, again, was really popular a couple of years ago. That popularity has died down somewhat, probably due to this being available. But basically, Gris Charnel and this is sort of a cornucopia of a wide variety of notes. It's really has a really luxurious feel, but there's a lot of iris in it, which gives it a quiet luxury vibe. So basically in the open, and the open is what I love about this more than anything. The first 15 or 20 minutes, you're going to get vanilla, iris, tea, and fig, but it's mostly the iris and the vanilla combination that I really like. And then after a while, the cardamom starts to rise up. It makes it very spicy, and it becomes less quiet at that point. However, I do love the opening. It is definitely very much a luxurious fragrance. I really like it, and I use it surprisingly regularly. I talk about this a lot on the channel, usually later in the videos, because I wear it a lot. Fragrance number 8 is 5 O'Clock Eau Gingembre by Serge Lutens. And as a North American, the idea of ginger at 5 o'clock makes absolutely no sense to me. I'm assuming that this is based around the sort of British or English tea time that you have between 4 and 5 in the afternoon. And this is a tea-based fragrance, and it is also a gingerbread-based fragrance. And so it really does feel both quiet. You know, you're having tea, and I mean, it feels quiet, and it definitely feels luxurious. The smell of the gingerbread here is amazing. So there is a tea note, because this is trying to capture the whole vibe and not just the gingerbread. But then you do get spices. You get cinnamon and black pepper. And then you also get honey, cacao, and amber. And then you also get candied ginger. Obviously, you're going to need that for gingerbread. And it is sweet. And it is warm. And it is definitely quiet. It's not a very heavy push-out fragrance. I was surprised because all my other Serge Lutens fragrances are beast modes. This one is more moderate, between 5 and 6 hours. This is more 3 feet rather than the other ones, which are more like 6 or 8 feet, but it's a lovely scent, and the vibe and the performance really match it. Anyway, minimalism is definitely something that I like, and especially as you get older, you get more mature, you tend to like more minimalist things, you tend to like more simple things in life, and definitely when it comes to fragrances, I prefer and I lean more to the sophisticated side of things than the loud side of things. So hopefully you like this style, and if you've watched this far, you probably do. And anyway, thanks for watching.